Nicaragua's Supreme Electoral Council has just released a preliminary list of candidates who can run in November's presidential election. And not surprisingly to critics, all of the candidates are aligned with President Daniel Ortega, who is seeking a fourth straight term. This development, of course, follows the country's sweeping crackdown on opposition leaders. CNN correspondent Rafael Romo joins me now live from Mexico City. And Rafael, we have seen Ortega really cracking down, not just on opposition leaders, but also activists, and that has intensified as of late.
Yeah, that's right, Isa. Essentially anybody who disagrees with him. And let's remember that the crackdown against the opposition has been going on all summer long with arrests of candidates, activists, and opposition leaders. And it started in June with the detention of Cristiana Chamorro, the only potential presidential candidate with the real chance of defeating Ortega in the November elections. So the release of the list of 6 presidential candidates that will be allowed to participate, including Daniel Ortega himself, doesn't really change the fact that the president will be running for re-election virtually unopposed.
This is how the government of Nicaragua treats working journalists. And this is how it treats those who dare to defy the government of President Daniel Ortega. Starting in June, the regime has been cracking down on critics and the opposition, including Cristiana Chamorro, the only potential presidential candidate with a real chance of defeating Ortega in the November elections. According to opposition leaders and human rights groups, the regime has since put behind bars more than 140 protesters, outspoken critics of the government, and members of the opposition, including 7 presidential candidates.
Hace 46 años.
And even those who at one point were his political allies and comrades in arms. The government has accused some of those detained of using money from abroad to carry out activities to try to destabilize the country or other vague national security violations.
There was no point in remaining there. I only had 2 options. Either they would take me to jail or they could deport me. I didn't know which of the 2.
Others, like Kitty Monterey, who led an opposition party, have sought political asylum in neighboring Costa Rica and other countries, including the United States.
Al servicio de los yanquis.
The Nicaraguan Supreme Electoral Council released Wednesday the list of 6 candidates, including Ortega, that can legally run for the presidency. Analysts say the other 5 are collaborators who are aligned with the president, even if they have their own political parties. Monterey says although there are 6 presidential candidates, the November election is a foregone conclusion.
It's going to be another farce, the same as in 2016. I'm not even going to say it's going to be a fraud. It's a farce. There's nothing there. I mean, the political parties that are competing, let's say, with Ortega, they're all his allies. There is no opposition, legal opposition remaining in Nicaragua.
Daniel Ortega is seeking a 4th consecutive term. The 75-year-old former revolutionary leader has governed the Central American country since 2007 and previously ruled the nation between 1979 and 1990, the last 5 years as an elected president. Journalist Julio Lopez is among those who have decided to seek asylum in Costa Rica. He says he fled Nicaragua after his passport was confiscated and the government accused him of being involved in a corruption case, charges that he says were an effort to silence him.
Lamentablemente, la situación del país.
Regrettably, he says, the situation in the country has become so extreme that there's no respect at all for freedom of the press in Nicaragua. Costa Rican immigration authorities say the number of Nicaraguan nationals requesting asylum tripled from almost 1,500 in May to nearly 4,400 in July. According to Monterey, this is a direct result of the Ortega government's repressive policies.
Definitely. It's been a dictatorship since the very first day. It's just that, unfortunately, many people didn't know or didn't want to know. Now everybody understands that he is a dictator.
And Isa, if Ortega prevails in the November elections, by the end of his next term, he will have been running the country for 31 years altogether. And given the fact that he has managed to get a tight grip on all government institutions and that he will be virtually running unopposed, it is very likely that he will remain in power. Isa, back to you.
Rafael Romo for us there in Mexico City. Thanks very much, Rafael.